This next song that I want to do this because there's a guy named Tommy Makem. Have you ever heard of him?
Nope.
Tommy, M-A-K-E-M. He was in the Clancy brothers. And he died on the 1st of August, 2007 at the age of 74. Tommy Makem, an Irish guy. Now, the reason I want to do this is because I went to Ireland in 1988. Do you remember those Radio Shack tape recorders that were about that big that you'd have a cassette in? This is before we had iPhones, obviously, and email. And I went over to Ireland with just a Radio Shack tape recorder so I could learn everything I could learn because I was playing on the streets. And one day they invited me inside to play a gig because I was just on the streets playing for passing change. And I saw a guy singing this song. And I said, holy shit, and this guy had the thickest Irish accent too, and I go, how do you have time to take a breath during this song? And I'll do my best Irish accent. He goes, we're not sure how we do such things, but we breathe in when we can. And I was like, okay, so, no matter what accent I do, it's always German. Like I wanted that, I really was trying hard to make that Irish. I just can't do it. So, this is good weed, man. So I learned every word to this song, and I had to keep going back on the tape recorder to learn it. You couldn't just look it up on YouTube. That didn't exist. And so I taped them on a little cassette and checked this shit out. Tell me if I even have time to breathe. This is called The Ballad of Johnny Mceldoo, written by Tommy Makem. Was Johnny Mceldoo and McGee and me and a couple, 2 or 3 went on a spree one day. Had a bob or two, which we know how to blow. Let the beer and whiskey flow, and we all felt gay. Visited McCann's, McLeman's, Humpty Dan's. Then went into Swan's, our stomachs for the pack. We ordered up a feed, which indeed we did need, and we finished it with speed, but we still felt slack. Then Johnny Mceldoo turned us blue, it's the dew. A plate of Irish stew, he soon put out of sight. He shouted out encore with the roar for some more. Said he never felt before such a keen appetite. He ordered eggs and ham, bread and jam, went to crab. But then we came around, though we tried our level best. For everything we brought, cold or hot, mattered not. It went down him like a shot, but he still stood the test. He swallowed tripe and lard by the yard, we got scared. We thought he would go hard when the waiter brought the bill. We begged him to give o'er, but he swore he could lure twice as much again and more before he had his fill. He nearly stuffed a trough full of broth, says McGrath. They'll devour the tablecloth if you don't haul him in. When the waiter brought the charge, Mceldoo felt so large, he began to curse and barge. His blood went on fire, began to curse and swear, tear his hair in despair. Finished the affair, called the shopman a liar. Shopman, he was stout, and no doubt he did pout. Mceldoo, he kicked about like an old foot dog. Stripped him of his clothes, broke his nose, I suppose. He'd killed him with a few blows in no time at all. Mceldoo began to howl and to scowl and to growl. He drew an empty bow at the shopkeeper's head. Struck old Mickey Flynn, peeled the skin off his chin, and the ructions did begin. We all fought and bled. Coppers did arrive, man alive, for a 5. And us that made a drive for us all to march away. We paid for all the mate that we ate, stood a trait, and went home to remonade on the spree that day. It's insane what happens in that song. The guy goes into a bar to get some food, and he's just telling a story of what happened. But you don't have time to breathe. He's telling who the characters are on the song. So he goes, it was Johnny Mceldoo and McGee and me, and a couple, 2 or 3 went on a spree one day. We had a bob or two, which is money. We had a bob or two, which we know how to blow. Let the beer and whiskey flow, and we all felt gay. They sucked each other's dicks. Okay. And we all felt gay. And then the song goes on and on where the guy goes into a restaurant and he says he orders everything on the menu. By the time he gets to, we swallowed tripe and lard by the yard, we got scared. We thought he would go hard when the waiter brought the bill. We begged him to give o'er, but he swore he could lure twice as much again and more before he had his fill. He nearly supped a trough full of broth, says McGrath. He'll devour the tablecloth if you don't haul him in. What? When the waiter brought the charge, Mceldoo felt so large, he began to curse and barge, and his blood went on fire. He began to curse and swear, tear his hair in despair, and to finish the affair he called the shopman a liar. The shopman, he was stout, and no doubt he did pout. Mceldoo, he kicked about like an old football. He stripped him of his clothes, broke his nose. I suppose he'd have killed him with a few blows in no time at all. But Mceldoo began to howl and to scowl and to growl, and he threw an empty bowel at the shopkeeper's head. It struck old Mickey Flynn, peeled the skin off his chin, and the ructions did begin, and we all fought and bled. The coppers did arrive, man alive, for a $5, and at us they made a drive for us all to march away. We paid for all the mate that we ate, stood a trait, and went home to ruminate on the spree that day.
How cool is that?
God. It gets me so excited.